Morning, I'm Andy from REAX, here in sunny Blackpool today. We've got Jamie coming from Skylotec to show us some new bits of kit, and arguably a bit of controversial kit. People have said yay or nay. So I'm just going over to Jamie. He's going to run you through what it is and what it does.
Cheers, Andy. Yeah, so I'm Jamie from Skylotec, and we're just going to have a little chat today regarding the Actsafe ACX power ascender. So Actsafe has been part of Skylotec since around about 2020, and they bring into our range battery operated power ascenders. So the model that we're looking at today, Andy, this is the ACX. There is a variety of the range. We have the PMX, which is a petrol version of this, and we also have recently launched the new ICX, which will be available later on into 2024. So what we're looking at, like I say, battery operated power ascender. The key features with this is certified as a piece of machinery under the machinery directive, and it is approved and certified for lifting both people and equipment as well.
Yeah, that's a unique selling point, right?
It is, yeah. The difference comes down to the ropes that we're using.
Yeah.
We have a very particular rope known as an ELR, equipment lifting rope. When that's put into this device, that becomes a approved lifting system for lifting equipment. We can then put 11mm ropes into the device for personnel lifting.
Yep.
And there's around about 3 ropes that we as the manufacturer have tested, certified, and we approve for use. But end users can use their own 11mm ropes as long as they pass what we call the suitability test.
So while we're on it then, obviously the hot topic around this, for anybody watching this may or may not know, there's been, not controversy has it, but people have been receptive or not receptive to it.
Yeah.
So in terms of having a powered descender on site, as opposed to me jugging up a set down of ropes, in terms of like case studies, like where's it been used, where's it been applied, what's gone on there like?
So what we're finding with this is the key things that it brings into the work operations is that we're increasing the element of safety, but we're also increasing efficiency.
Yeah.
One of the biggest factors with it is the longevity of the workforce.
Yeah.
Is the fact that when we look at rope access operations, it's generally quite physical. People are generally very fit, and it's a historical way of doing it. People know what they're doing. But rope access as a method of access is basically getting to the place of work. When we're using something like this, it means that when people are turning up at their place of work, they're fully fit and capable. There's no energy expended to actually get to that location. So it's making it much easier, much quicker, and it's keeping it safer because within this one system, we've got multiple rescue options as well. We're finding for equipment lifting, there's a number of case studies where people are using what is in effect the portable crane. It's got a working load limit of 200 kilograms on this, but with a mechanical advantage of around about 2 to 1, we can get between 300-400 kilograms worth of lifting. And if we look at the other things out on the market that you need in order to be able to lift that kind of weight, then they're generally not portable, they're not mobile, they're in situ, and they're generally operating on chains and cables, which one of the things that we find with those is that their lifting speed can be relatively slow. This will lift at 24 meters a minute, okay? Just because it goes at 24 meters a minute doesn't mean it has to. We can also be very precise in the positioning with the throttle to get loads exactly where they need to be. So we're finding people are able to do things a little bit quicker. One piece of kit that we can move into lots of different locations. We can pull horizontally, we can pull upside down, inside out, we can rig this at the top, we can rig it at the ground. There's a number of different applications. Yeah. It's not our position to go, this is how we use it. What we do is we speak to end user companies, look at the work that they're doing, and then we find areas and we're able to go, if we use this in this location, this is why you're going to see the benefit of it.
So just putting sort of past experience head on here, time installing this for using it for a lifting element versus say putting a classic chained capstan winch down with a 110 power block, as we're all familiar with. What do you reckon the timeline is on that? Because we know offering a capstan on is not always the easiest thing on a leg and stuff like that if you're on a tower, for example.
To actually rig the rope into this thing literally takes seconds. All we're looking for is being able to anchor it off a suitable and sufficient anchor point or a 795 anchor point or a dedicated anchor point. But yeah, once the anchor's set up, we can literally pick this thing up. Weighs 13.5 kilograms with the battery on.
So the battery just slides in, right?
That's it. The kit comes with 2 batteries. So it comes in a big black Pelly case. And in that kit, you're getting the ACX ascender. We get 2 lithium ion batteries. Okay, these are 140 watt hours, so they're very high powered. And what's important to be aware with these is they have a battery management system in there that helps monitor and maintain the condition of the battery so that we're not degrading the battery or the device, or we're not increasing risk or anything along those lines. So batteries going in, we can also run it off a portable power supply. So if we're needing kind of repeated lifts, and we're doing it quite frequently, obviously battery life is something we need to be aware of. If that's an issue, first off, one battery will lift 100 kilograms, round about 200 meters.
See, I think that's quite interesting the way you've done that maths, because that's actually useful maths.
Yep.
Telling me it'll lift 30 minutes doesn't really mean a great deal. Not when you're looking, because one of the principles we're lifting, and it's worth mentioning this, is what, where from, where to, right? What we're doing, where's it going from, where's it going to?
Yep.
So in my world, the idea of you giving it me in that language is way more useful than saying it's good for 30 minutes. Well, what's that? It doesn't mean anything.
As a manufacturer, we have to provide some form of data, information and guidance. We have all that knowledge as well. So we, through our testing and the certifications we apply to it, we know that those batteries, on average, you're looking at 100 kilograms, 200 meters. We can increase that by breaking the lift down into sections or by going a little bit slower on the throttle.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to give that guidance, but there's variation. There's slight variances within it. And because you've got two batteries, it only takes 90 minutes to charge a battery to full power. So while one's working, the other one can be charging. But we also have the portable power supply, which plugs into 230 volts. That can then be plugged into the bottom of the device. We still put a number on that, and we'll say with the power supply option, you're looking at around about 500 meters of lift with 200 kilograms.
Cool.
The caveat to that is as things get hotter, then obviously there's going to be a reduction in the speed. But because of the battery management system in this and also in the power supply, it manages itself, and if it starts getting too hot, it shuts itself down. It's not broken, it just shuts itself down. You allow it to cool down, starts up again, and you can continue.
So that's just a fail-to-safe function, isn't it? Yeah, so if we take this from the other end now, which is obviously the bit that people get excited about with these things, I certainly do. And I'm not gonna lie, I've had a play with this thing, it's awesome, I kind of want one. No, I actually want one, to be fair. Taking somebody with a minimal background in ropes, let's just say, we're not talking about your IRL level 3s, highly experienced guys, we're talking about somebody that's just come onto a site to inspect something. You've got to send them up there and manage them working at height up a line, for example. Unusual, but it does happen. What depth of training would it take for you to put somebody on a rope and send them up?
So the training that would be required primarily comes down to the supervisor of that job. The person kind of in control and supervising and taking responsibility for the safety, they need to be trained and they need to understand how this thing operates. But when we look at traditional access methods, there's a fair bit of equipment and there's certain skill sets that are needed. There's physicality involved as well.
100%.
If we wanted to take someone with no skill set whatsoever, we wouldn't put them into a chest ascender and a descender and a foot loop. You would, but after a period of time. With this, we can put somebody on it and they can control it. And the key reason for that is that they have control with the throttle, so they control their ascent and descent. So that actually has a built-in rescue element, is that they can descend with very easy twist of a throttle. We can also kind of supervise and maintain the safety of that person because we've got an emergency descent on this. We can rig the ropes for rescue. But ultimately, with the wireless Bluetooth remote, it means the supervisor can operate the control of the device. The person who you're needing to put in a position, as long as they're familiar with basic height safety and a harness, we can put them into that situation and we can lift them to where they need to be. So they don't actually need to do anything. You can stick them on a chair and they can just be lifted up.
That's where there's a lot of questions come around this, isn't there? Because people now have to apply the rescue head under the workout regs. We all know that. And the reality is, that was what went through my mind when I first saw one, whenever it was. I was always like, right, great, but what happens if it doesn't work? But like you said, there's a lot of integrated rescue already there, isn't there? You know what I mean?
Like I say, it opens it up to the fact that we can get people who may not have the skill set or the ability to get to the location they need to for work. A trained supervisor, they can put that person in that position and they can do it safely and they can do it with rescue considerations. We're not wanting to take anything away from the rope access world or simplify it in any way, but what we're looking at being able to do is increase the ability for people who have different skill sets to get into those locations. And we are talking straightforward ascents and descents. Okay? Any kind of maneuvers that we might need to do when we get more technical in ropes, there's times where, this is perfect for that, but there's times where we wouldn't be using it. But that again comes down to the training and the understanding of what it can actually do. But in simple terms, we can take someone with a very limited level of skill in work at height and ropes and we can get them to where they need to be. And we can recover them, we can keep them safe, and they can get there still full of energy. They don't need to use any physicality to get into location.
I must admit, since having a go on it, and we'll get back to that in a minute, but the reality is the first thing I noticed with it was ease of operation. Like, it is
dead easy.
As I've said before in these videos, I'm a mechanical idiot, and you just basically ran me through it. I've got the work height background, which helps, but the reality of the situation was, even down to the threading drawings, that's nothing foreign, it's nothing unusual, it was straightforward. The other thing I liked about it, because I had to access just under some truss and bits of steel work, it was intuitive to move it. I thought, I'll level with you, when we connected it up to me, I thought, do I need a swivel in here? I thought it was going to have to
You can just manoeuvre it.
You can literally just move it and keep the throttle going, which is awesome. Plus, I've got to admit, the remote control thing, let's be honest, most guys in this industry, you give them a toy, right?
They want to play with it.
And you want to play with that. Yeah, again, so far I'm impressed. Just a couple of questions.
No, far away.
Obviously, we've got emergency kill switch. Everybody's happy with that. Makes logical sense. What's the Beckett for?
Well, I'll run through the different features of it.
Yeah, go for it.
So like I say, we've got the ACX device, okay, which is the power sender, and that comes with 2 of these batteries. Okay, cool. Like I say, it comes with the chargers and everything that you need in order to be able to
So if I bought one out of the box, I'm getting a pair?
You get 2 batteries.
Right, okay, yeah, cool.
Like I say, what we've got is we've got our main connector point with our connector sling. So we supply it with a EM362 carabiner.
Yeah.
If people want to put a shackle in it or another suitable connector for their operations, that is something that can take place. This can come out. We've got 200 kilogram working load. And then we come up into the rope cover. We can open that up. And one of the real beauties with this is that we can put the rope into this device at any point. Midway on the rope, at the top of the rope, at the bottom of the rope. We can take it on and off as needed. Very, very simple to thread. We've got the rope wheel, which grabs the rope. We've got the little petals inside, which is where the grip comes from. Little rope wedge, and then our little rope guide. And we've even got a little wear indicator on there so we can identify when we're getting to the point of it requiring service. We've got the E-stop and the power switch. This bit that you just mentioned there, so this is what we call the positioning point.
Yeah.
Now it does stand proud, sticks itself out, and people do sometimes interpret that and go, oh, that must be the connection point for a person or to rig up a mechanical advantage. No, that is there to help position the device, particularly when we have this rigged on the ground, rigged at the bottom. As it goes under load, it's going to lift up. As that load comes off, it's going to come down to the ground.
So essentially we're using that controlling for that floating function, aren't we? Once we get it, we just put that under tension and it's where it needs to be,
That's exactly it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We've got the carry handle to be able to carry it. And then we've got an emergency descent lever just at the back here. So if it's completely run out of power, you could effectively take the battery off and you would still be able to descend. Okay, so that could be operated by whoever's on it. So they can just descend down, no problem at all. There's not that much magic to it, there's not that much voodoo. It's very, very intuitive and simple to use, as you found out earlier. It doesn't take away from the fact that we need to be trained in how to use it. This is a piece of machinery. Okay, it's not classed as PPE, so it does have service and maintenance requirements, as does any other piece of machinery that we operate with. And that's for lifting equipment, that'll be done on 12 months. For lifting personnel under Lola, obviously,
because this is where 6-month inspection. We can already see for people getting the lines blurred with this, right? You can already see that we're going south. So if you're making people aware of that going in, that this isn't PFPE, it's a different tool, it falls under different rules and regulations, which makes logical sense. Because it's a weird blend between rope access and powered access, right?
Very much so.
I'm not aware of any other tools that kind of directly fall under that, if I'm honest.
And this is why the approvals and the certifications with this are done under the machinery directive. Because there's nothing else really that will allow the capability to lift people and equipment with one machine. We do that by changing the rope. But again, we're then doing lifting operations with a rope, when most people are familiar with cables and chains. So it is very unique in that, and we have all of the certifications and kind of all the relevant approvals that we have that are needed in order for this device to be on the market. And that's one of the key things, is that to be able to lift people and equipment with the same device with very quick changeovers. You mentioned before how simple and quick it can be to rig. We have this rigged off kind of NATO hitches on the back of vehicles, temporary anchors. We can go off dedicated anchors, we can wrap it around a tree and use that as the anchor. So wherever the lifting operation is needed to be controlled from, whether that's from the bottom or the top or by the user, all those options are available.
You see, you think about that, like you go to some sites, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. We've taken it to arboriculture, it's an obvious use tree work, innit? Because you've not got access to power 99.9% of the time, it's very seldom. Then you take it to working, say, on a greenfield site in telecoms, it's applicable, right? Makes sense to me. Also, unlike a lot of lifting devices, and again, banging back to the classic that we've all used, which is a capstan winch, it's the portability, innit? Like, that's the first thing I figured out when I picked it up. I was like, oh. And I'll be 100% honest here. When I found out that Jamie was coming in with this tool, I went into it with 100% skepticism, because I've seen these things on the market and I was always in the camp, old school thinking of, why do I need it? What's it going to do? It's a lot of money, there's no point lying about that. That's the reality of the situation. But then I've even had to play with it today in a few different configurations, which we'll show you. I get it, but again, it's one of these tools, till it's actually in your hands, you don't get it.
No.
I personally think, and I guess if you had that same experience with other users.
Very much so, yeah. People they're very interested in what it can bring to the party. Okay, the cost does come into it, but that should never be the deciding factor. Once people have seen it in use, that's when the penny drops.
Yeah, 100%. Right, that's enough nerdy talk. Let's be honest about it, mate. We've been in the game long enough to say that openly. Next statement really is straightforward and go and play with it, the actual fun bit, really.
That's what we need to see.
So let's go and do that, otherwise people won't get it.
That's
all right,
it.
cool,
Okay.
let's do that.
Right. Okay, so we're back together, we've got our equipment on. You've got rope access training, you know the basics of this.
Yeah.
Just going to run through how simple this is for what we call running ascender to personal ascent, be able to lift you up and down with your own control. So this was the box that I was talking about. Comes with wheels as well, so we can maneuver it about. I'm going to bring out the wireless remote, so I have control. In this situation, the battery is still connected onto the device. I'd bring it out and run through the pre-use checks, which we deliver in all our training courses. But to keep it nice and simple, you've got your backup on. This is always going to be used with a suitable backup system. And what you're using there is a perfectly fine backup system. Making sure it's all switched off, I'm going to open it up and I'm going to install the rope, and I'll show you just how simple that can be. We're going to follow the diagram off the front. We'll literally bring it into the side of the device, round the rope grab wheel. I can pull it up, fit it in there, and in we go. It's literally loaded, it's ready to go.
And again, like most of these things in our world, the instruction's clear in it, and it's also a familiarity thing, and it's a lot of devices, not all by any stretch. Skylotec got some products that do the other thing, but a large majority of the time we want to go to the load to the left, don't we, which is instinctual for a lot of people.
Even down to the idea of operating a handle-operated device with our left hand and our right hand on the tail rope.
Yeah.
This follows that same mindset. Just to show another little feature with it, as soon as we load onto the main loading point, it automatically snaps close to safe.
That's well smart.
There's no point in me picking it up. I'm going to let the device do the work. So I'm going to turn it on as it runs through its little checks, pull on the throttle, and I can start bringing that into position.
And then it's as idiot-proof as I think it is, right?
Yeah, you're going to connect that into your work position point.
So just like every other descender, ascender, whatever we're doing really, well, descenders predominantly, am I maintaining a brake line?
You're always going to maintain control of the tail rope with your right hand. Your left hand is going to be operating with the throttle.
Okay.
You're going to twist it in the intuitive direction, and that's going to take you up.
Yeah.
When you let go, it'll stop. When you twist the throttle the other way, that's going to bring you into descent.
Sweet.
If at any point I'm worried about where you're going to, I can interrupt your control with this wireless remote.
Cool.
If something was to happen to you, I can bring you down with this as well. This has got 150 metre range on it, so it doesn't matter how high you go, I've got you. We've also got the emergency descent lever if we needed that.
Right, okay. So in terms of a pre-use check, if I was operating this on my own, so imagine I've not got you, I'll always have somebody on site because we don't work out on our own.
Yeah.
What's the pre-use check for that, like itself, the actual emergency?
The pre-use check is to ensure that this is actually engaged into the little slot that it works for.
Right, sweet.
We don't want repeated use of the emergency descent lever when it's not a real emergency, but we always ensure people know how to use it, when to use it, and what the function is, and it's literally just pushing it with your thumb. Okay, so in your own time, you're going to do your ascent.
Can I make noises?
You can do. You can do.
It's a child in me. Just thinking the speed this thing moves at, we might have to maintain a backup line, but it's pretty slick, this CT device. So sit down into it and scream if you want to go faster, right?
That's the one.
Genuinely, the joy this thing brings me is actually insane. And we're off. No dramas.
So at any point, I can interrupt your operation with the wireless remote by turning it into the wireless, just connect it up. If we do it. So you'll notice there that the light's gone blue.
Yeah, light's gone blue up here.
If you had any issue or you were needing your hands, I can actually bring you down.
Oh, how bizarre.
If you go completely hands-free, I can recover you. Okay. You can also recover yourself, and you can bring yourself down in a number of different ways.
I think one thing that's worth showing, and we can show you on some of the ancillary steel we've got up here on the tubes and stuff, is what I was saying before about how intuitive it is to move around things. Yeah. So if I give it some now. So if you imagine I've got an obstruction here, the device has gone that way, it is literally as easy as And we're where we need to be.
Yeah, just move it out the way as needed.
Super. And for coming down, rules normally apply, one hand on the brake.
That's it. Slowing, it's just a new battery on it. So I've got control here there.
And I'm rescued.
And I can bring you down as needed.
Whoa.
Simple.
It's amazing. Like, just so we're clear about this thing, as I said before, I went into it with a load of skepticism. I had a go on it earlier when we were rigging ropes and bits and pieces. And it is that easy to operate. That's not like just a sales pitch thing. No. Like, I said to one of our sales guys here earlier, I said, even with his limited like work eye experience, it could run you through this in no time at all and be up and doing, you know, like, that is amazing, mate, to be fair. Like, so yeah, up and down and stuff, superb, no dramas with that. The reality is where I think this has actually got its most potential. If we take that to the idea of like theatre rigging, anything where you're up and down lines all day long, yeah, great. But what I'm really interested to see now is it doing the magic, which is the lifting element.
Okay. Yeah, we can switch that over into a lifting system. Very, very simple.
I think that's where the key lies with this thing. So let's go do that.
Right. No rules. Okay. Right. So Andy, in the last one, straightforward ascent and descent, traditional kind of method of going up. But just to show again, if I want to take away from how much you need to do in terms of operating a device, maybe there's restricted space or there's busy things going on, or you've got enough happening just in the general working day, then I can do all the lifting for you.
Well, this is also, like we said before, about the idea of sending somebody up that's not necessarily experienced, right, but they've got a specialist skill set and you want to put them there. So it seems logical.
So using the same device, I've anchored it off the bottom of the tower.
Right.
Using a work position belt there just to hold it off the ground so it's nice and safe and secure and it's not going to bounce into stuff.
Cool.
You've got your backup, which you're going to manage as well.
Yeah, that's on me.
And then we're just going to load in into the
Twist
working line.
Not solid,
so I've got two options. I can operate from the throttle, but I can also operate off the wireless that's in my pocket here.
Right.
I'm stood away, I'm not stood underneath you, I'm in a nice, safe, controlled area. So if you're ready to be lifted, I'm going to ask you to be operating the backup device.
Yeah, I'll deal with that.
I'm going to take it nice and steady. And what you'll notice is this will start coming under load as you come under load.
Oh, here we go. Something's happening.
So it's going to lift you a short distance until you're suspended. Okay, and then once we stop swinging, I can lift you up whilst maintaining the backup rope.
Nice and easy. Flying.
If I want to be stood somewhere a little bit different, I can still maintain control with the backup, with the tail rope.
Yeah.
You manage your backup and I can still get you where you need to be.
Oh, wow. That, again, we're back to that manoeuvrability thing, aren't we?
That's it.
Yeah, that'll do, mate.
So we can put you into position there. So you don't need to function with any of the devices. I can do that for you. So you can focus on doing your job and keeping safe.
Nice and easy, isn't it?
Okay. Bringing you down again, I'm either going to use the remote or I'll use the throttle. Okay. Always maintaining this tail rope. Let's go a little bit faster. So if that was to happen, you can either pull it down or I can just send you back up. Don't have to rig up a whole system, don't have to rig up a mechanical advantage.
None of that.
Very quick, very efficient.
Smart.
And then bring it down to the ground. So I could be lowering you into a vessel, I could be hauling you up a comms mast or a transmission mast. Number of different applications.
Long drops into confined spaces, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's one thing. REAX, we deal with that a lot. We do a lot of confined space training, and I was just thinking about that then. There's certain drops, or guys doing big drops. Like we had a guy on a course the other week who was having to do a 260-metre drop.
So how was he getting out?
How do you think he was getting out?
Hauling, jugging, all mechanical
just
advantage.
all of that, when you could have just pressed the button.
Just push the button.
Yeah, amazing.
Simple, safe, efficient.
Perfect. While we've got this set up, I think it'd be prudent to have a look at the idea of doing what I'd traditionally call a semi-tight line with it. Or do you want to look at something else?
That can be done. What I prefer to show on this one is using exactly the same configuration, but with a slightly different rope, because that's the certification for equipment lifting.
For lifting,
so if we move over into the equipment lifting, but on that subject, if we're wanting to do semi-tight lines, if we're wanting to do kind of tension lines, these systems can be used in that way.
It's amazing, isn't it, really? And you think about how long that would take, and if you were to create a standard like 3-to-1, classic thing, like we'd still be going now and I'm still not
more time, more kit, more physicality.
Absolutely, and it seems to just be the reoccurring theme with the product, doesn't it?
That's exactly
right, let's lift some stuff that's not me.
So we can keep recording on this one, because all we're going to do is just change over the rope.
Right, so like we said before, Jamie's going to show us the lifting principles and stuff with this piece of kit now. Just so we're clear, we're actually going for a real weight. Like there's 70 kilos here in our REAX rescue dummy. So I'm just going to have Jamie run me through how it works, bro.
Yeah, so we're using exactly the same device, but what we've done is we've rigged up the ELR, the equipment lifting rope. So this rope in this device is certified as a lifting system under the machinery directive.
Right.
So again, obviously I've changed out some of the rigging because it's equipment that we're doing this time. 70 kilogram load, bottom rigged, redirected from the top. So could be a dish mount, could be a section of tower, could be ladder sections for wind turbines, could be equipment. We've shown how it could be done with people, but we are focusing on equipment now.
Okay.
Exactly the same way I was operating before. So with the throttle, I can lift. I can be very specific and precise by going slow, but I can also go at this 24 meters a minute. With this kind of load, I mean, the working load's 200 kilograms, 70 kilograms, no problem at all. We could put a 2-to-1 mechanical advantage in that. That's going to increase the working load above 200 kilograms. We class that as kind of expert use because we need to be aware of loadings on the anchors and how the pulley systems work. That's also going to increase the amount of rope that we need, but reduce the speed that we can operate at. But lifting should be slow, steady, and controlled anyhow. Okay? So to bring this down, just going to bring it down, turn it the other way.
And again, just show us some of the precision on that. How close can you get to the deck light so it's just touching?
So I can bring it all the way down.
Precision's everything we're lifting.
If I want to be precise, I'll use the throttle. For longer distances, that's where I'll use the remote.
Yeah, got you.
I've got 3 speeds on the remote, but with the throttle, I can be very, very precise.
Awesome.
So we'll go back this way.
Yeah, the precision's there, isn't it, all day long. So while we're talking about this then, I think it's worth bringing up, obviously, where we are today, nice, dry training environment, you know, no dramas with that. Real world though, you know what it's like in Europe, the UK. The weather's
always sunny. It's always sunny.
Changeable. So in terms of that, what's the waterproof factors, dust, all that? 'Cause it's going to go into grimy environments, right?
It's a really good point. So the device itself, from the manufacturer, we say it'll operate between about -10 and +40. Obviously, we're always getting +40 in the Lake District at the moment. It's got an IP rating of the device and of the batteries of IP55. So it's got a very high level of dust egress protection and also water resistancy. We're not going to say it's waterproof, but it has a very high level of water resistancy, so a really heavy shower. If the conditions are suitable under your risk assessment and environmental conditions for you to work in, the likelihood is this is going to be fine. Wind speeds. It's not that the wind speed affects the device, but the wind speed can affect the ability to lift safely. So we recommend max of about 12 meters a second wind speed when using this for lifting operations, which is in line with a lot of other lifting systems.
A lot of other stuff falls under that number.
But yeah, I wouldn't say submerge it. That's not what we're looking at doing, but it will operate perfectly fine and keep itself safe in British weather, let's say. Okay? Yeah, so wherever lifting systems are being utilised at the moment, this can take the place of that.
So if I was going to ask you now to sort of sum this up, because we're heading towards that time, what would your 3 key takeaways be? What would your 3 unique selling points be of this product?
Increasing safety.
Yeah.
Increasing efficiency.
Yeah.
Longevity of the workforce.
Brilliant.
I like my knees and hips.
Yeah, man.
And being able to do this until I'm 50 odd, 60 odd, I like the idea of that because that will take all of the weight that would normally be going into my hips and my knees. So they're the 3 things: efficiency, safety, and longevity.
Well, I think to sort of sum that up, really, there's a lot there, isn't there? And just so we're clear about this, I think there's going to be more videos on this to come because we've only just sort of scratched the surface of what's doable with this tool. I'll be honest, I came into this thing very questionable. I wasn't sure about it. Do we need one? Kind of old school thinking, right? Now I've had a play with one, I get it. But it is one of those tools that to fully understand, you need to get in your hands. And I genuinely think we've only sort of scratched the surface of what we're doing for that. So, cheers for coming down, bro.
Not a problem. Cheers,
Always
Andy.
good to see you.
Appreciate your time.
All right, mate.
Yeah.
To be continued.
Yeah.